Project for today is going to be this Cub Cadet LTX1042. The blades are not engaging. As you can see here, the lever is pretty bent. I already started taking this apart a little bit, and I thought I'd show you guys because it's a pretty common problem on these. There's plastic bushings down in here that'll go bad, and then a lot of times when the cable gets bad, people will be reefing on this handle here and they bend it down, so then even if you replace the handle or the cable, it doesn't work still because it's not getting enough throw on this lever. So I've tried straightening the levers before. I've tried heating them up and bending them back, but they seem like they just bend again as you weaken them then. So they've already got a bent spot in them and it wants to bend there again. So we're gonna take this cable out and replace that, and we'll replace that lever. This guy had already started messing around with he tried to adjust it here and drilled another hole for it, so we'll have to put that back where it's supposed to be. And it's got a wheel here that's ripped out of the deck. We'll have to try to repair that also. I'll get you in a stand and we'll get started. So first thing I'm going to do is try to weasel this cable out of here. It's got the wrong bolt in here, so it's making it a little bit difficult to pull it past. And that came out. Unhook that spring off of there. This would have had, I'd already pulled it out, but this would have a clip through the hole here holding it in that you have to take out first. And then that'll run up to the back. And there's here's where the cable comes through here. And there's two little tabs here you have to squeeze with the pliers, and then you can pull it out the back and then unhook it up there off of the linkage or the arm. Let's see if I can get it so you can see these tabs here. I lost my light. And just squeezing on them tabs. This one's being a little bit stubborn. There we go. Get that popped up out of there. And we'll pop this cable out of that arm. And we should be able to pull the whole works out now. I'll pull it out from here. And you'll see that cable pulls really hard. It should be fairly easy to pull, and then you can see where it's come apart a little bit on the end there, so it's all stretched. So usually if you find them with the bent lever like that, you're just going to have to replace the cable. I've already got a new cable here. It was a rotary part number 14341. That was an aftermarket cable, and then this lever, I got actually a Cub Cadet lever, if you can see the number on that. I'll put it down in the description too, the part number. I just got that from partstree.com. They usually have most of the Cub Cadet stuff. And now we'll try to get this lever wiggled out of there. These are the plastic bushings I was telling you about. They just have a little shoulder where they slide in to the hole under here, and then it just kind of, it clamps around the shaft like that, and then there's a bolt on each side, so you have to pull those out to get the lever out. Then you got to get a little bit creative getting the lever wiggled out of here. There's a spring under there too you have to take off. Kind of just hooks to the back of the mower and then through the lower hole on the lever. I have to take this plastic piece off. I think I did that on another one I did. I'll grab some sockets and we'll get that off of there. It'll just be some, I think they're 10 millimeter. Yeah, 10 millimeter bolts underneath the fender. You have to get a ratchet for those. Oh, there's a couple more. I guess there's there's 5 bolts holding that. I'm gonna twist that off a little bit. Then there's a little piece of metal in here that has all these notches in it that holds everything in. I think I gotta pull that too. That's just some 1/2-inch bolts. Kind of got to watch out because once this is loose, it's not going to hold the deck up anymore, so I hang on to this lever. And you can see that'll drop down. That'll get your hand if you're not watching that. And that slides out of there. And we got that out of there. I already had the battery and the battery tray out of there, so you have to do that so you can get in and get at all that stuff. And as you can see, the new one and the old one are not shaped the same. That one had quite a bend in it. Then we'll feed this one. See if I can do this with one hand. Feed that one back down through. That's all the cables and stuff. Gotta get it started up here. There. Now that's up there. It's got to go past that. Then we'll get that plate back on there. So that's got to go back through like that. Make sure this is on that side of it. Line up one of those bolts. And one here. Get them started. Those are kind of just like self-tapping bolts, so they don't really thread in the nicest, and you gotta wiggle them around to get them in there. So now, gotta get that bushing in there that holds that lever steady right here. I'll try to get you set up so you can see me doing that. The bushings on this one were still good, so I didn't order any new ones for that. You kind of got to get them started in there before you can start putting your bolts in. It's not the easiest thing to... You can kind of stick your hand up through the hole from that plastic piece we took off. Get one of the bolts started. Those ones are going to be a 3/8. I'll have to get a different socket for that. And as you can see now, our lever goes all the way up to the top and all the way down to the bottom, so you have all that throw, where before it was bent down to about here, so you're only getting 3-4 inches of throw off of it. So now you gotta put this spring back on. That spring, the long side here, goes up onto the lever. I left the sticker on it for the part number. I'll just try to stab through that. It's this lower hole. There we go. And stab through that and spin it. Oh, maybe I got it the wrong way. I don't remember how that was through there. Oh, like there you go. Went through like that. That's what it looks like on the other side. And then it just pulled back over here. My camera died just as I was getting that, but there you go. It hooks right at the edge of that hole like that. That just holds the lever back, so when it's off, it pushes on that safety switch right there. You can see it, that comes out and in. And we'll get our new cable routed through there and see how it works. I just routed the cable up through there, and then it goes just through the top hole in the rod there. And of course, now I pulled it out, I can't see what I'm doing. It snaps in there like that. And then back here, I don't know if you can see that or not. Right here, it just, you push it through, and it'll just tug on it to make sure you got it. Those two tabs will click in, and then at the bottom, I'll just pull it out. I'm not going to hook this up to the deck right now because I am going to pull this deck off of here and try to clean this busted spot up and see if there's enough metal left there. I can weld something to that to get this wheel stabilized a little bit. So for now, I'm just going to put that up like that, and then we'll try to get that deck off of there. I can probably put that plastic piece back on here too. And like I said, that was just these 5 bolts here. The lower two that go under here, they're a little bit tricky because they go kind of straight up. They don't go in like you would think they would, like straight out like that. They kind of angle straight up, so they're a little bit hard to get started sometimes, but once you get them, they'll thread into that plastic pretty easily. So I'll get that cover put back on, and then I'll show you how we get the deck off of this one. One more quick thing here, the handle that goes on top, all it does is just slide on. So when you go to take the old one off, you just give it a twist and break it loose, and then that's all you do, whichever way. I think it goes that way most of the time, but just thought I'd add that in case you got one that's stuck on there. It's not threaded or anything, it just slides on. So one way, if it really is stuck on there, is you can take a heat gun and heat it up a little bit, and sometimes that'll make it a little bit easier to get off of there, but most of the time they slide right off. So for the deck here, we're just gonna, the front will have just this one pin you pull out. And then that rod, you'll have to pick up on the deck a little bit and pull that rod out, and then that'll drop down. And then back here, you've got a couple of lift cables that are on a pin. Grab a pliers to get that off. That off of there. And then it's just this pin here. I just kind of tilt it up like that so it stays out of there, and then once we get the other side, we'll pull the lift lever up, and that'll get those bars out of the way. Oh, that one's really stuck. I guess you don't actually have to take off the lift cables. Those can stay because we're gonna just lift those up out of the way, but might need to take a hammer or something and tap on that. Oh, we got it. So actually I'm gonna put that lift cable back in there. Another thing is to make sure you remember which hole the lift cable was in. Since that does level the deck, you just kind of want to make sure it's the same side to side. Put that pin back in. And then we'll just lever there, and it lifted those up out of the way. And then we got to take the belt off still. Which that can be a little bit difficult with these keepers sometimes. Sometimes you can just slide them out like that, just by bending that just a hair. Get the belt out of there. And that should be everything holding that deck on. Now it's just the hard part of dragging it out of there. I think I'm going to set the lift down so I don't have to carry the entire deck. I'll bring you back when I get it over to the welding area. As you can see, it's cracked all the way through there. This is pushed out a little bit, so I'm going to try hitting that with the hammer and straighten that out first. Yep, got that a little bit straighter. Now I got to try to hammer the other side back in. Might be as close as I'm gonna get. I might try to just tack that and see how, if we're crooked or not with the other wheel. I'll grind that out a little bit. Oh, not too bad. Get in there a little bit more. I should be able to get in there. I might have to try to smash that in a little bit more. There, that closed up that gap pretty good. I'll probably put a clamp on there. That's not too bad. I'll try to put a tack inside there. I'm not a professional welder by any means. I just got a Harbor Freight titanium welder with the flux core wire, so it does the job, but it's not pretty usually. I gotta get it converted to gas on there and some good wire so it's not such a messy weld. But I'll try to tack that and go from there. Alright, we'll try to put a couple of tacks in here and then I'll set it back down and see if it's crooked or not. That doesn't look too bad. We'll set it down and see how straight we are. Now we're pretty far off yet. I'm gonna have to do some bending. I think he might have bent this part also. As you can see, this one is fairly straight bent and this one kind of goes outward. So I might just weld that in and then bend this piece. Take the wheel off and I'll bend that straight. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see in here, but I tried to put the camera up where I wouldn't be in the way. Well, it's not pretty, but it should hold. Well, it didn't end up too crooked, but it does have a little bit of a lean to it, so I'm gonna take that wheel off of it and try to bend that straight. Well, the weld held good because I would have broke pulling on it that hard. That's not too bad. I'll tighten that back up and see if it's better. And it's still a little bit crooked. That might be the best we're gonna get though. I don't want to end up breaking this piece too. This metal that these stamped decks are made out of are pretty poor, and then they get rust, and it's pretty much, there's no clean metal to weld to either, so it just ends up, the more you clean it, it's still just embedded with rust, so you can't really get a very decent weld on them. But I'll throw a little paint on the inside there and then we'll throw it back on the mower. Another thing on these I've seen is this bar in the front will get bent, so the deck will actually be closer to the motor, so your belt won't tension up then either. So make sure this has just a slight bend into it when it's new, but I've seen them get a huge U-shape in them from people hitting stuff and everything. So just another thing to look for if you can't get your blades to turn on one of these things. But usually it's just that cable, and then if you've been reefing on it too long, then it'll be this arm. But it's not, this isn't terribly expensive, so if you do that, don't worry too much about it. I think it's less than $20 I think for that arm. And then the cable, I'm not sure what that ended up costing, but if you can do it yourself, it's not too bad. It's about an hour's worth of work probably. Another thing I thought I'd add is where these bolts go through for these wheels, they do have a little grease fitting here. You can grease them on some of them, but I've found that if you put grease in them, all it does is just collect all the dirt and stuff. So I like to use a spray. This one is just kind of a dry spray, and then it doesn't collect the stuff as much. It's more of like a graphite. So I just spray it down like that, and then that'll actually dry, and then it just has kind of a graphite left behind that seems to work pretty good, especially on that plastic stuff. Otherwise, you can put grease in them, but like I said, it just seems like it picks up all the junk. So I did a little more bending on this, and I got it a little bit straighter. It was still a little crooked once I got it on here, so it's gonna be close enough. And then we'll get still got the battery and the battery tray out of it, so we'll get that put back in and then go test it out. Another thing I'd like to add is this bolt down here. I did loosen that and then I sprayed some lube underneath it. It was kind of rusty underneath there, but there is a nut underneath. You can't really see it, but it's underneath on the other side of that spindle that you do have to hold that with a wrench to loosen that bolt. That's one thing. Just didn't want you to be reefing on the thing and not being able to get it loose. I usually just come up here and I break it loose, and you kind of got to reach underneath with a wrench to, and I just take the nut all the way off and just pull it up a little bit, just enough to get lube under it. Otherwise you got all this stuff connected to it and that gets all out of whack and it can be hard to get it put back together. So I usually don't take it apart quite all the way. But I think all I got to do now is put that battery back in, and then we'll go take it for a test. Check the belt, make sure it didn't pop off once we shut it off. That's another problem sometimes though. Once you shut the blades off, that belt gets loose and it'll pop out of there if it's got any bad keepers or anything. But I think that's probably gonna do it for this one. If you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel. Let me know down in the comments what type of videos you guys would like to see. It seems like these riding mower videos are pretty popular, but I've got a lot of different stuff I could work on show you guys, tillers and chainsaws and push mowers and four-wheelers and dirt bikes. And just let me know what you guys like to see. It's kind of mower season right now. It's in the springtime, so got a lot of mowers coming into the shop that I can show you various problems on. So I'll probably keep doing some of these and mix some other stuff in, but let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do about putting some videos out that you guys want to see. Thanks for watching.